So I get this one a lot because I run a lot of sales staff and have like franchise owners, so business owners, CEOs, and sales staff. Most of them have some degree of ADD. So I do get this a lot, but I've got a lot of experience helping with this one. It's, hey Baz, how do I become more disciplined? Because I think we understand the value of discipline, especially the more time you spend in business. You don't want to be someone who relies on being motivated. Motivation is fleeting. Motivation goes away when things go wrong. Motivation isn't always there. Sometimes you're just unmotivated for no reason at all. You don't need motivation, and frankly, you don't want motivation. It's nice when you've got it, but in reality, you don't need motivation. You need clarity and discipline. And what I mean by clarity and discipline is clarity of what are the specific things I need to do or improve in order to get closer to my goal, as minute as I can. And discipline, which is really simply put, do I do the things I need to do even when I don't feel like doing them? Now, the upside with discipline, it's actually almost like a muscle in your brain. So there's a part of your brain called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, which is literally responsible for doing things you don't feel like doing. And that part of your brain, it increases in size and activity the more you use it. So if you think of discipline, people talk about the discipline muscle, it's actually legitimate. The more effort you put into doing things you don't feel like doing, even if that's like, ice baths in the morning or gymming when you don't feel like gymming, whatever it is, each one of those is making you a more disciplined person inherently because you are flexing that muscle every time. And the more you can do that, the more disciplined you're going to be. And more importantly, the easier it's going to be disciplined. Because the stronger that muscle is, the less effort it requires to do the things you don't feel like doing. So that's the first one, is you can strengthen your discipline muscle. But the idea of how do I become a more disciplined person, I use this analogy all the time. I call it placing pebbles. And the idea is, you imagine like Roman scales, where they've got like the two trays and a balance beam. Every time you do something you don't feel like doing, that you know you're supposed to do, it's the equivalent of taking a little pebble and putting it on the side of being a disciplined person. And what you want is that scale to be super balanced or out of balance in the direction of someone who is disciplined. And every time you take action, it votes for that identity. Identity is just, it's the narrative we tell ourselves. And there's some hacks you can use, affirmations, I am disciplined. You can say that 50 times a day. That'll actually help, but it's also kind of goofy. So it's, it's up to you. But in reality, it's the votes that you cast for who you want to be with your actions. Identity is comprised of the things that you consistently do. And there's a lot of science to back that up. And so when you do something that requires discipline, you're in the shops and you see that, that delicious ice cream, but you go, nah, I'm going to eat clean. That's a vote for healthy. That's a vote for discipline. If you have, like a couple of paragraphs that you've got to write of copy for your website, doing it, even though you don't feel like it, just remembering that 5-minute rule of, okay, well, what can I write in 5 minutes? Can I do 2 sentences? Then opening that Zeigarnik loop and then you doing your 3 or 4 paragraphs of copy, that's voting for discipline. And that's a big vote. But, and this is a big but, the brain likes shortcuts. It likes doing less. It wants to conserve energy because we're from times where food was scarce and energy was scarce. And this is the problem, if you vote for undisciplined, for instance, you do have that snack that you're not supposed to have, or you have that beer you're not supposed to have, or you hit the snooze button when you wake up, which is really dangerous. I know that sounds super cheesy, but you're in a theta state and you're programming yourself. So the first 60 to 90 minutes of waking up, you want to make sure you're voting for discipline. But every time you hit the snooze or you don't go to the gym or that thing that you just don't feel like doing and you cave and don't do it, it's the equivalent of putting 2 pebbles on the not disciplined side. So if I'm voting, even if I'm doing an equal amount of disciplined and undisciplined things, I'm going to be an undisciplined person. And so you've got to be doing 2 disciplined things for every 1 undisciplined thing just to stay level, let alone tip it. And so just understanding how severe the misses are, that is a really important part of building discipline and becoming a more disciplined person. So in summary, work your discipline muscle by just doing 1 thing a day you don't feel like doing, and vote for discipline and put those pebbles on the side of discipline to create that identity and understand that the misses hurt more than they feel like at the time. If you got any questions of your own, feel free to drop a comment. We're pretty good at responding. And as always, if you can like, subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, that'd be gangster.